Welcome back to another episode 2 of our Keys trip. And look at that, flat, calm, crystal clear water, which means we're going to be going offshore and seeing if we can dive for some pelagics, mahi, anything really that will come near the flashers. See you there. Welcome back underwater, everybody. So as you can see here, we're at some sargassum patches. We were dropping the flasher and kind of drifting along with them. We never found any like big ones, but I kind of played with the triple tail and some of the, like, I think they're baby amberjack under the sargassum. We only ever saw one mahi and couldn't find any big patches of sargassum. So even though the blue water was really clear, really cool, we ended up heading into some inshore reefs. So first dive on inshore reefs, we're looking at a ledge here. It kind of goes from about 10 feet and slopes down really sharply until you're in like 20 feet of water here. All of that within like 15. So I'm diving along the edge and I see a mutton kind of cruising. And so I start my grunts, try to get it to come in closer. I really want a broadside before I shoot. But he starts swimming away and I get desperate. So I take a bad shot and he just kind of tears off, swims straight away. So I gotta be patient. Don't get too trigger happy. Don't pursue fish so you can get them to go broadside and get a good shot on them. This next dive, I see a big black grouper on that piece of coral that's outside of the reef from the surface. So I'm just kind of swimming up to it nice and slow. And I do a quick little duck dive, make sure he's not noticing me, be nice and stealthy. And he kind of flips to the inside of the coral. And I could have taken this unicorn shot, but I don't like that shot. So I kind of go around, and I don't know there's a backside. And now I'm chasing him. And I whiff this shot pretty bad. On this next dive, I go back to that same piece of coral after reloading, and I see a different, smaller grouper on the same spot. And this time, I'm much more patient with my dive, and I get this nice stone shot because he didn't notice me like the first time. Got enough time to just line up on him and get a good shot on the head area. Didn't ruin any part of the fillet. Really nice looking fish. On this next dive, I'd actually been sitting on the boat, putting the black into the cooler, and Matt waved me down. I now know it's because he didn't know if this was a red or a Nassau grouper. But he waved me down to look at this grouper, and I, being selfish, took a shot. Rolled it. That's on me, Matt. Totally thought that you just wanted me to shoot the grouper. But he tasted good. Looked pretty.
It's a red.
Good fish. Another one in the boat. So by this point, I know that the blacks are not in the reef. They're kind of hanging out outside. So as I'm swimming over the outside, I notice one camouflaged in that patch of dead grass, and you'll start to see him here. So I drop down behind this rock, and he notices me and starts to kick away. As soon as he goes broadside, I shoot him, and he runs for dear life straight into a hole. So I kind of just follow him to see which hole he went into. And once I realize that he's in a hole that's pretty accessible, I head to the surface because I know the sharks aren't gonna get him. So this is my first and only recovery dive. The sharks have kind of come around, a couple nurse sharks really, just because of the commotion. So I'm trying to get him out on this dive. So I stick my arm all the way up to where the shaft is touching the fish and just slide my hand back down and pull him on out, get him close to me, and head to the surface. And you can kind of see the shark come in right there, and he's swimming along down there. But he's not messing with me. Grouper's in my hand. Gotta brain him, bleed him as always. That's another fish for the kitchen. Really pretty fish, black grouper. As I'm reloading, Matt sees a black in a hole and goes down to it.
distance away from him, but we put it up in the boat. This next set of dives is really interesting. If you see that black grouper up there, that thing is huge. It's the biggest like shootable grouper that I've ever seen. So I'm just kind of slowly following it, waiting for it to kind of feel safe or flick into a hole or think I'm not there. And that's exactly what it does. It goes into this pile of coral that I'm about to dive behind. So as I approach it, I stay behind it so that if it's sitting back there, it can't see me. And I immediately, the gun is the first thing to round the corner in case that grouper is sitting there, it's ready to shoot. But in this case, he was actually inside that head. And that's the only way to get in or out of that piece of coral, was that entrance. So I stick my light in there and I kind of look for him and I see him. I confirm that he is in fact in there. You can kind of see. And I shoot him and it's a bad shot. So I dive again. And this time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hit him and I'm gonna hit him in a good spot. So I take more time. I stick my light in there. There's his tail right there, big fish. And I wait until I can see his fin, because then I can kind of figure out where his head is. Once I got that, I stick the gun in and shoot. And he just pulls it out of himself immediately. I should have pushed the shaft through instead of doing what I did, which was pull. But I think I hit him in the gill plate area in that shot. So I don't even take my shooting line back. I know this fish is going to try to leave soon. So I just dive down. I can't see anything in there anymore. And I stick my gun in until the gun is literally touching the fish. And once it's touching the fish, I get it right around here. And once it's touching the fish, I just grab it, push the fish into the wall, and I shoot. Shaft in hand, this fish just comes tearing out of this hole. This is a massive grouper. Shot placement's in the gut, which is not ideal, but I don't know that because all of this happens in the span of like less than a second. And he just takes off. The flopper's barely hanging on here, and then he just pulls it out of himself and goes over this other head of coral. So I just kind of follow him, and he spooks out while I'm trying to reload, and he goes over this other really big ledge. So I reload and dive down. I can't find him. How'd we do?
We did great.
Matt shot another red. Nice fish too. But we're finally heading in. Good cooler. Kool-Aid cooler. Okay, so we got my share of fish. Both blacks I shot, and the red, we're gonna fillet them up and eat them. Cool day.